afternoon. We will call the January 30th Board of Education meeting to order. First item of business is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. I need to approve the minutes from the December 14th, 2022 and the December 19th, 2022 meetings. Do I have a second to approve both board meetings?
So moved.
Do I have yes, second, sorry. Second. All right. All right, Dr. Freeman.
All right, board members, we have a special recognition tonight, one of my most favorite times of the year, and that's to recognize our teachers of the year. And so I want to start with a really nice appreciation video.
I grew up here in Vestavia, and I believe that teaching is just a calling all my life. And as I park my car every morning and I walk across that crosswalk, my hope and my prayer is that I am serving these children to the best of my ability. I very much am thankful that I have this thing that I call a job that is really just an opportunity to serve these kids. The first thing you have to be as a teacher is someone who wants a relationship with the children. They've got to know you care about them. They've got to know you expect a lot from them. And if they know you love them and you care about them and you're there to help them in any way you can, they're going to do hard work for you, and they're going to have the grit and they're going to have the perseverance because they know you're alongside of them. So yeah, I mean, the relationship is number one to me. I was fortunate enough to do my student teaching right across the hallway in first grade, and from day one, I immediately knew that there was something different about Liberty Park because of the people and how hard everyone wanted to work. I would not be the teacher I am if I had not started here. If you think about a STEM activity, the STEM teacher isn't teaching it, they're there to help. You're here to facilitate them, not necessarily to lead them constantly, or teach them constantly. You're letting them explore, letting them figure out. And it's just great. It's great to see those smiles on their faces every morning. And so that's what inspires me. That's what motivates me to get up. It's these kids.
As my children have grown, I think about what is the kind of teacher that I want to be in that classroom with my own personal children. How would I want their teacher to treat them, to teach their classmates? How would I want their teachers to teach them if they're struggling? How would I want their teachers to respond to their struggles in class? That's what motivates me each day to come in and to teach the way that I do and interact the way that I do with my students.
Coaching and teaching kind of parallels and works really well together. And I think I've learned a lot in both that I've been able to kind of mesh together because they need coaching just as well in the classroom. They need confidence of like, I can do this, I've got that. And so I want them to know I'm their biggest fan. I want to support them and help them. And it's kind of shaped my whole philosophy as a teacher and a coach.
Geometry is very difficult for many people. And so I tell them all the time, in 5 years, 10 years, if you don't remember every single theorem that I've taught you, that's okay. What I want you to learn to be is a communicator and a problem solver, and to learn to work with others. Because whatever field you go into, you might not use the Pythagorean theorem every day, but if we didn't have the relationships, everything else wouldn't matter. And if that's all I do for a student, their entire time they're with me, that's all that matters.
Once you have your own children, your idea of this job completely changes because these kids really are somebody's whole world. They have hopes and dreams and an idea of their future, and you get to mold it in some way. But that's a huge responsibility and a huge honor. And so I really do think of this job as, how can I help this student thrive in this classroom, be successful in this classroom? And they know that this was a point in their education that they felt that success.
I was born and raised in Lima, Peru. The second I stepped into the classroom 16 years ago, I knew that this was it. We as a collective faculty want our students to be upstanding individuals that will carry the name of Vestavia and just make us proud, but just to be good people, right? It's one thing to be good students, but it's another thing to be a good person, a kind person. And that as they grow, they feel that school was a respite from the world and not something that added to their hardship.
We're not finished bragging on you. Meg Walker was first on our video, a teacher of the year, Vestavia Hills Elementary East. Meg's here tonight. I appreciate you being here, and Cindy, surprise. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Just a few comments. You can hear about Meg.
Well, I told them, yes, well, Meg taught my own child, and that was my first year when I worked at East, and he's a junior in high school now. And I just remember going in the classroom that summer, and I was like, oh my gosh, my child, you might not know this, gets to be here in this learning environment. It's just, and once I met her, got to know her through the years, I mean, just steady, just amazing. It just does whatever she can and never misses a beat with some difficult children. And it's just, they're all loving and she's amazing. So.
Congratulations. You joking, just saying. All right. Carmen Sullivan, she's with us today as well. Okay. Highlights, take it away, Darn.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Carmen all evening, if y'all wanted me to. I assume you don't. But just last week, I took Carmen with me and a district team to a conference, and she was awesome, total rock star there. But while we were gone, I got an email from a parent, and I just want to read a little bit of that to y'all because that sums up who Carmen is. This has been Maggie's best year at school, and I attribute that to Carmen. She expects excellence from her students, but she also gives them confidence to rise to the occasion. She keeps a very structured classroom, which I love, but leaves room for grace and kindness. Many times this year, she has provided a listening ear to my daughter and made her feel safe and heard. She's a wonderful communicator, has a knack for giving the bullet points and not giving 10,000 details, but yet not making any of the parents feel like we were in the dark with lack of communication. It's a balance, and she does it excellently. I know she was teacher of the year at our school, and I hope her career takes her to places where she can mentor other educators because we need more teachers like her at Vestavia Hills Elementary, Cabo Heights. She is living out her calling, and I feel so blessed that my child is under her instruction. That's good stuff.
Oh, there you are. Hey, look up there. Caitlin Randolph. She is teacher of the year at Vestavia Hills Elementary, Liberty Park. And I'm not sure Dr. Abbott, looking for her.
Oh, but I can help her.
Okay. Hey.
So I had the pleasure, now my kids didn't get to have Miss Randolph, but I got to sub in her class all the time. And most of the time, because I brought candy, I was the favorite sub. Every one of her kids would go, where's Miss Randolph? She's not here today. She was a breath of fresh air. I remember when you student taught, I remember when you were there. And so she was just a delight. Liberty Park's a pretty small community, so you always get to hear the parents go, I want this teacher, I want this teacher. And she is always at the top of the list. Her kids love her. I know Miss Abbott loves her, and we're blessed to have her at Liberty Park.
Congratulations. Kelly Miller.
Kelly Miller is a gifted teacher at Dolly Ridge. I got to hire her a few years ago, and she was already very experienced. And she helps with our Hope Institute team. She brought 2 big trophies home from the E3 competition last year, which is like a STEM competition. And she actually received is it like the Best of the Best award for gifted educators in Alabama. So she's a very accomplished person. She's just a wise person, does wonderful thing with our kids, and just somebody we really rely on. I mean, we tap her for a lot of things. And she even does Safety Squad, which is our safety patrol, and, just makes those kids feel a part of a team. They work for pizza. They're happy as long as they get pizza. We don't pay them, but Kelly makes it a really special thing for those kids, and it's a real leadership opportunity for them. So we're proud of her.
Liberty Park Middle, Amy Woodard.
Amy Woodard is one of our OGs of Liberty Park. She started with us when we opened 15 years ago. as a gifted teacher and then moved into sixth grade English language arts. And we are just blessed to have her here. She knows how to approach her kids in a very individual, creative way. She knows their needs and she knows what's unique and special about each and every one of them and is able to approach them in that manner. Amy is also our yearbook sponsor, which is a whole other job in itself, and does a fantastic job with that. It is one of those things that everybody look forward to every year to see what kind of twist she's going to put on it this year. But she's just an outstanding educator, and Amy mentioned in her video that as a parent, as she grew as a parent, so did her teaching, and she's a prime example of that. I think a lot of us attest to that when we had children. It puts a whole different perspective or approach in our teaching sometimes. And I've seen Amy grow in so many ways and so I just can't thank her enough for the work she does for us.
Congratulations, Amy. Michaela Spence presents middle school.
Michaela, I love what Michaela said in her video about coaching and teaching and how they go hand in hand. Because she does coach and teach, but she's also a teacher leader and a model for good instruction in our school. She's been a part of the teacher leader program this year, and one of the things that they brought back partnering with freshman campus people is doing instructional rounds with our school and the freshman campus, and that's something that she worked to create and lead. And then leading her PLT, her team that she works with regularly, just to help them like think through their grading practices and how they're aligning and pacing together. They just seek to be excellent in every way and are always working to refine. And so I appreciate just her speaking into that and caring for the kids that they serve. And that's the reason they do that hard work. So I'm very grateful for her and the role she plays at Visits.
Congratulations. All right. From the freshman campus, Emily Hall.
Ms. Hall is, I mean, she is the physical embodiment of what I feel like is a master teacher, you know, and she does that all the time. She had, if you've ever had a conversation with her for more than about 20 seconds, you know that she has an infectious charm. She's always happy. She has a creative teaching style. When you go in her classroom, kids are moving, kids are shouting out, kids are taking risks, you know, which is such a hallmark of her classroom and good teaching. And when you combine those two things, one of her colleagues said that one of the things she does best is she makes kids comfortable and capable, feel comfortable and capable with doing hard things. And I've been in her classroom many times just to pop in, and I hear that come out of her mouth all the time. You can do this because you can do hard things. And in her video, she just kind of laid out the roadmap for that. I wrote them down: communication, problem solving, and collaboration, because those are skills that are going to translate into every walk of life, no matter what they do. And whenever you pop in a classroom, you're going to see that. And I would invite you all to come through the classroom sometime. And I say that with confidence because I know she wasn't mine at all. So
I do hear there's some dancing and songs that go along.
Absolutely.
No wonder she likes Hamilton.
They try to make it.
I saw her at Great Professional Development last week over there at Hamilton. Yeah, she's using some of that. That's good. All right. Our elementary teacher of the year and representative from Vestavia Elementary West is Megan Humphreys.
Megan is a superstar. She's a natural. She, that safe, nurturing environment, she did that long before those words were written. Those children, she makes them feel a part of a family. They take risks. She takes risks. She volunteered to co-teach and have a cluster of like 10 IEP kids one year with in co-talk with a special ed teacher, because research shows if they're in a classroom instead of in and out, they thrive. And everybody in the third grade team said you lost your mind. But because there were some hard kids in there, but she did amazing. And those kids did thrive as well as the typical peers. And she's been a leader with professional development. She's a role model for our other teachers for instruction, but has done teacher leader. She's technology, professional development, on and on, E3 team. I mean, she's like, you just go in there and you want to be third grade all over again. In fact, 2 days before we got out for Christmas, when we went to give her the honor in her room, kids were on the carpet. She's teaching. It's the day before we get out for school. And she's got a meeting out of her hands. And they're doing a lesson. They're doing real stuff. And it's always that way. It's always, they're happy, thriving children. Very proud.
So this will really impress you. 1 week ago today?
11 days ago.
11 days ago?
Yes.
What were we doing?
Having a baby.
Dad and Jack
I'm gonna sketch you. I got it. Okay. All right, our secondary teacher of the year, representing Vestavia High School, is Amanda Jordan.
Well, so she said in her video that, it's more than just teaching students, but it's also teaching them how to be good people. And when I tell you, she is good people. I love her to death. And I will tell you, look, she gets it done in the AP classroom in Spanish. Her students, the data on her students and her track record of scoring, a passing score that gets you your college credit on those AP exams is outstanding. So yeah, she's rocking in the classroom. Her kids love being in her classroom. But my brain is going to the spreadsheet where when our staff nominated our teachers and they have to say something about it. These are the words that I'm telling you, the votes that came in it was the most I've ever seen. And these were the types of words that the faculty used to describe her. Changed the climate, cares about people, is a go-to teacher when I need help instructionally, is somebody who genuinely cares more for others than she does herself. I mean, I could go on and on, but they're just, I wish I could put her in a little box and say, this is what you need to be as a secondary teacher. So many initiatives she has been kind of the thought behind, because she's never satisfied to just continue to rock on. She's always reading. She is always, looking for ways to improve strategies. And she's also brave and bold to say, hey, could we try this? And there have been some things she's initiated and come to the administrative team, and we've gone with it. And it's been wonderful changing some of the climate pieces on our campus. So I just can't say enough wonderful things about her. She's good people.
Megan and Amanda will represent our school system at the state level for the competition that's held every year. And the Rotary Club is going to treat you to a good lunch and other things, I think, in just the coming weeks. So look forward to keeping on celebrating. So now I want you to all come up front. Just a picture of you. We'll give you something to keep. So, my final comments are this, and it's really just a question rhetorically, but don't you feel good about where we are in our schools? This is just an absolute stellar group of teachers that represent over 500 educators in our system. They are wonderful people, first of all, wonderful educators, and they really are. We're celebrating tonight, teachers. So we're going to do some more things here in our meeting to recognize teachers that have retired, that are now in our Educator Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about some ways we want to keep supporting better and better. But it's a great place to start here with what is building a new legacy for us that we just refer to as a legacy of excellence. And you are that. And I'm indebted to you as a dad and as your fellow colleagues. And so we're blessed as a community. So congratulations. Family, anybody want to take pictures?
Yeah.
Is it the 101st day of school? It is. It's
101st.
I see it Dalmatian.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Now go, you can stay, but you can also take the sign right now.
I know you have a long night. It's a great video. I'm going home for the first time.
Oh, my pleasure.
So good. Oh, Nicholas, what are you gonna do? I might work out and read a book. That's gonna be great.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, board members, we'll move now to financial statement, and I'm going to give you the overview this evening of our financial statement. As of December 31st, 2022, we have collected 17% of our budgeted ad valorem tax revenues. And that is in comparison to 12.3% that we received this time last year. The main reason for that is the increase from last year is due to timing differences in receipt of funds from the city of Vestavia in December of this year before we left for the holidays, as opposed to January of last year. So that's always an impact on budgeting. Our total expenditures and transfers out in the general fund as of December 31st were 25% of the budget compared to 24.3% last year. With all things being equal, we should be at 25% of our budget in the third month, so we're right on track. Another good statement. Monthly financial statements and check registers are available as always for viewing on our website and upon board approval, and all bank accounts have been reconciled as of 12/31/22. And I would recommend approval of the financial statement for December 22.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation for board approval for the financial statement for December of 2022. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? You want us to throw our very detailed questions at you?
Yeah, I think good time.
All those in favor?
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, consent items. I recommend the board approve consent items related to the disposal of property, field trips that are both in-state, overnight, and out-of-state.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the consent items and field trips. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Spring is here.
It is here.
It's almost- Okay, items under new business. First is an approval of a licensing agreement, and I would recommend that the board approve the licensing agreement for Happy Legs Incorporated LLC, which is doing business as the Vestavia store.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the licensing agreement for Happy Legs Incorporated LLC, doing business as the Vestavia store. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Item B, I recommend the board approve the amendment for Vestavia Hills Elementary East construction owner-architect agreement. Excuse me.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the owner-architect agreement for the Vestavia Hills Elementary East. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second. Mr. Weaver, I do like to comment on this one. This one and the next one are several agreements that are really contingent on One Rebel, One Future's successful outcome. This particular amendment has to do with what will eventually be a PTO paid for playground renovation. So we just put it under this as part of an overall bigger project. They would be funding it, but I do want to reiterate that these agreements are really just preliminary, setting the stage if we're successful with One Rebel, One Future.
All those in favor?
Item C, I recommend a board approve the architectural agreement for safety and security improvements.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the architectural agreement for safety and security improvements. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
These are all projects that were identified several years ago as part of our initial audits for One Rebel, One Future that would be just general improvements to security pieces around our school system.
All those in favor?
Item D is I recommend the board approve the resolution to initiate the request for proposals for investment of funds.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the resolution to initiate request for proposal of investment of funds. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Board members, Matt Adams is here this evening, and he works with us as our financial advisor on behalf of Raymond James. Matt's worked on several projects with our board. I certainly have great confidence in him, and he's been working with Courtney on this proposal for investment of funds, and I wanted him to share the details of this with you, as I think it's very important, and also I think a really prudent step in trying to maximize dollars. Matt.
Thanks so much for having us. I'll share a few details and answer any questions you guys may have. But basically, the board is in a unique position in that it gets a large portion of its funding for the year in December and January. And then it spends down that money throughout the year. And then the next December and January, the ad valorem taxes come in and the process repeats itself. And so the basic thought behind what we're doing is we're taking a portion of the funds that the board is receiving right now in its ad valorem taxes, and we're essentially investing it in U.S. Treasuries that come due at the beginning of each month. And so it's almost like instead of getting it all at once, we are getting it with interest over a period of time, and it's just coming due at the first of each month. That's the basic concept. We will run a bid process and report back to you with the results. The bid process is a fairly quick process because the prices of U.S. Treasuries change by the second. And so we'll run a bid process, and it will be pretty much wrapped up within about a 10 to 15 minute time frame. The bid will be awarded, and then the securities will be delivered in the account of the board, and they'll be held. And as they mature, then Courtney and the board will have cash that it otherwise would have. We've kind of studied the expense trends of the board, and it'll kind of mirror. You'll have heavier cash coming due in those months where you have heavier expenditures. We're not doing a lot of the board's cash that it gets on an annual basis. I believe the resolution recommends up to $10 million, and so it's essentially what we're doing is kind of a smaller portion of the board's ad valorem taxes. It's a small bite to chew for the first time that we're doing this, and then as Courtney gets a little bit more comfortable with it, that number may increase a little bit, but that's the basic idea behind it, is to earn some cash off of the money that we have in ad valorem taxes that otherwise would just kind of be sitting there not earning as much of anything. As of right now, if we were just to run kind of level draws, March through December on $10 million, the investment return would be about 4.25%. That would yield you about $175,000. It's probably going to be a little bit more than that because some of your expenses come later in the year. But that's just that's an example of what a level payments from that $10 million would yield us over the next year or so. So certainly worth it. What's kind of made this occur or necessitated it is last year short-term interest rates rose. They were basically zero for a long period of time. They've come up to where the one-year treasury is now at about a 4.72%. And so we're trying to capitalize on that short-term increase of interest rates and earn the board something on the cash that it sits on and spends down throughout the year. Any questions?
Yeah, one point of emphasis too on this is, and I cannot reiterate this enough, this is not just extra cash we have lying around. That those dollars get spent down as the year goes. This is to me a way to be very prudent in what we have and utilize this small period of time to gain some interest into our general fund.
Might have been a bad term on my part, but yes, essentially it is money that comes in the early part of the year that's spent down on our operations throughout the year.
You're just keeping it sitting in the checking account versus
That's right.
spending money. And it's minimal risk because Courtney can set the draws how she wants at any rate based on her expenses.
Yes. She can set them however she wants to mirror expenses. She can be as conservative with how much she does, up to the $10 million mark. And they're U.S. Treasuries, so as long as the government is paying its bills, then they should mature throughout the year, and we'll earn the interest off of it. So,
Questions? Discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Item E, I recommend the board approve the resolutions for inductees to the Educator Hall of Fame.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the resolutions for the inductees for the Educator Hall of Fame. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second. Board members, you have 5 resolutions in your packet. I won't read each of those, but they are in recognition of the 5 educators that will be part of our 3rd class of inductees into the Educator Hall of Fame. We are recognizing them tonight, and upon your approval, we read these resolutions out to them. But I do want to give you their names just so the public has heard this as well. But Kelly Bagby, Brian Kane, Karen Delano, Kimberly McBride, which is a posthumous recognition, and Audrey Farrow will all be recognized tonight for the induction into the Hall of Fame.
Excellent. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you, look forward to that. Item 8, I recommend the board approve the personnel items as submitted.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the personnel items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second. All right, I would like to have Dr. Rainey to come up and to deliver some remarks related to One Rebel, One Future. We have, for those of you watching and part of our audience, we have been providing information each month to the public through various means. One is through our board reports, others through chamber newsletter. We've had some community meetings. We'll have some more in the spring, but related to One Rebel, One Future, which is our vision for the future that includes a proposal for a ad valorem tax increase. This month, what we are doing in keeping with our theme of the day is really celebrating the legacy of excellence of our teachers and our core of educators we've had for over 52 years. And Dr. Rainey is going to share with you part of our vision of how we can better support what is already a stellar group of educators. Dr. Rainey, thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure tonight to talk about our teachers and the gift that they are to our students. So when we hear families talk about why they moved to Vestavia, almost always they say it's for the education of their children. And so when we think about our first goal, that's to ensure that students learn and demonstrate a profound understanding of knowledge and skills consistent with expectations of teachers, parents, and the community, and to ensure that students find value and meaning in the work provided to them. And that is goal number 1. It is the goal that really is at the heart of what we do instructionally in our district. And so when we think about that, how can we protect that excellence that we are known for here in Vestavia? And so as we think about who it is that we serve, our students, you heard the teachers tonight on the video. They did a much more eloquent job than I could do tonight talking about the students that we serve. We have 7,055 students in our district, and representing our 9 schools. These students are the reason we're here. I mean, it's not just a number on the board. It's not just a bar graph of students, but this is our reason for being here. And when we think about how do we protect their experience, how do we protect our student experience? Dr. Freeman spoke to you about this, I believe, at our last board meeting. He talked about all the ways that our students excel with our ACT scores, the dollars they receive in scholarships, the number of students we have that are National Merit Scholars, so many things that our students accomplish. And they could not do this without loving, supportive, caring teachers. And so we have 929 employees, 615 certified, 314 classified. And so I've got a picture of a gift that I wrapped at Christmas. And as I was thinking about the presentation this afternoon, I was trying to provide a package for you tonight. I enjoy wrapping gifts, and my sisters say that I make my gifts a little bougie, but and they give me a hard time about that. But tonight, as I'm thinking about this package of how I'm going to present this information to you tonight, it's not going to be as bougie as my Christmas packages, but I hope that it is presented in such a way that you can at least get a grasp of the gift that's inside the presentation. And that gift is our teachers. So who are our teachers? We talk about our teachers and the excellence they provide, but did you know that we have 64 national board certified teachers? That's really difficult to accomplish. And we have 64 of our teachers that have that certification. We have 33 teams teachers. I know I was just talking to Ms. Hanson. She has been at a conference for personnel last week, and she was talking about many of the districts. They have 6 teams teachers, or they may have 13, 15 teams teachers, but we have 33 teachers who have qualified and met the standards to be a teams teacher. 24% of our teaching staff have bachelor's degrees. 67% of our teaching staff have master's degrees. 7% have that 6th year or specialist degree, and then 3% have a doctorate. So you can see that we have a very qualified teaching staff. As we're thinking about one rebel, one future, and protecting our school experiences, how can instructional partners do that for us? You've heard us talk about instructional partners, and I was reminded of this quote from Benjamin Franklin. And really, it is at the heart of instruction. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. Our teachers are so talented at doing that. And by providing support, guidance, resources, and encouragement for our teachers, the instructional partners would be helping to make sure that every day each student has access to an excellent education, because their role, their purpose is to support teachers. And then I thought too about this quote from Albert Einstein. It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. So our children, as you've heard our teachers talk about in the video earlier tonight, it's not just about that content, but it's about creating that joy that's in the classroom. And you can't do that unless you do it with love and care, and each child knows that their teacher, they are special to that teacher. And I say that from the lens of assistant superintendent when I'm out in the schools and I see our teachers interacting with our children. And I also see it as a parent with my own child. And I know the importance that his teachers have played in his life. And I'm so thankful. And we feel that one way to continue to support them is through instructional partners. If you ask, many teachers will say the thing they need more of is time. Time. We need more time to prepare lessons. We need more time with the students. We need more time for instruction. Time is the one thing they often say they need more of. Well, unfortunately, we can't create time, but what we can do is maximize the time we have. And so how can we do that? One way is through professional learning teams. And so every school in our district provides that additional time during the workday for professional learning teams. We're very fortunate to have that. Many districts don't. So we provide that time during the school day for them to meet, plan, and work and share together. And then another way that we can help provide time is by the use of instructional partners. Instructional partners can help make sure that the time they have is spent wisely, that we're being efficient with our time. And also, as I move through the presentation a little bit, you can see how instructional partners also can provide time for a teacher to go to another teacher's classroom and observe. We've heard that over and over again, as you heard Michaela Spence talk about, or as you heard Dr. Huntsberger talk about Michaela Spence and some of the work that they're doing with Teacher Leader. It was their idea. They want to see their colleagues. They want to learn from their colleagues, and they can't do that unless someone's there to cover their class and teach the class and say, I'll teach your class today while you go and observe, and then they can talk about those instructional practices to help them get better. So this is a way that we can help provide them that additional time that they often request. When we think about all the things that teachers do, I have the tiered interventions. They not only are providing that first level of instruction for all the students, but they're providing tiered interventions as well. And so an instructional partner can come along beside them to help with the plan and make sure those interventions are working. When we think about instructional coaches or partners, I'm using the word instructional partner tonight because many times, I see y'all smiling because I have Nick Saban in there. I am an Auburn fan, War Eagle, but I have to say Nick Saban is probably, the one
Probably.
he is the best coach in college football. But I thought it was important to talk about why we say partner versus coach. When we hear the word coach, a lot of different things come to mind, and we want to make sure that we're speaking a common language and that we understand what we mean when we say instructional coaches or instructional partners. We've had focus groups this year to talk about this. We've had administrative meetings. We've talked to different people on our focus groups. We've had teachers, administrators, community leaders, all talking about this concept. And we've landed on the word partner because really this person that serves in this role is more than a coach. They will go through a coaching process. And I couldn't help but smile to myself as Michaela tonight was talking about how being a coach and a teacher and the things she's learned from each one of those roles and how she's kind of put those together. And that really helps her in her classroom and her class delivery. I thought, what a wonderful way to segue into what we're talking about tonight. Because this person would be a partner for teachers, and they would be a partner for administrators. It's a non-administrative role. They would be a partner. Jim Knight, most of the instructional coaching work, he really is he's an author and a researcher, and most of the work around instructional coaching comes from his research group. And he says, to put it simply, instructional coaching makes it easier for teachers to meet the needs of their students. It's a very basic, simple understanding of what their role would be. But when you look at the pictures here, you see a picture like of weightlifting. And when you have a partner in the gym, you are sharing responsibility and you are helping your partner. You're taking turns. So you would lift the weights, they would lift the weights. You're there to spot and support and encourage you to do the most you can. Or it may be you're working on a specific skill and you need a partner to really hone that specific skill. Or maybe maybe you need a coach in a different way, kind of like Nick Saban, who's looking at the data, who's reflecting with you, who's watching and talking about your lesson for the day. So they can serve many roles, but the concept that I really want to be clear about tonight is, although they will go through a coaching process, it is it is instructional partner for a reason. It is very much a partner for the teacher and a partner for the administrator. So what would the structure look like? We would have one partner per school. It would be a 10-month position, and there would be ongoing district meetings with the teaching and learning team. So we know that it is critical for them to have the preparation and the training in order to be effective in their new position in this new role. And so some of the ways that we would support them in their preparation and training would be with the Instructional Partners Network that is through the Alabama Best Practices Center, the Ron Clark Academy, Alabama Conference for Grading and Assessment for Learning, and the Solution Tree Training. All of this training we already participate in, and so we would want to make sure that the people that are in these roles, this instructional partner role, they have a knowledge and understanding of all of these professional development opportunities that our teachers are connected to. And I've put, as you'll see my slides, books are in the corner that we've been using as we've been studying instructional partners, because we want to make sure that that we do this. If we do it, we want to do it in the right way. So Leaders of Learning, that's one of the books that we've been using. And so you might wonder, how will IPs, our instructional partners, help us fulfill the goals of the district? So district goal number 1, when we think about those expectations, teachers, they're regularly engaged in professional learning related to quality work. Teachers create active learning environments. Teachers adjust instruction based on what students say and need, and teacher collaboration is evident through common assessments and projects. And our instructional partner can help our teachers reach these goals for excellence.
Is that someone in the school doing this, like a teacher, or are we bringing someone out of the community to be the instructional partner?
It would be a teacher.
Okay.
So, yes, so it would be like a teacher leader position. So it would be an expert teacher who would work with their colleagues to help facilitate what they're already doing in the classroom. So how would they help support goal 2? Teachers, they're honored for their skill, knowledge, and expertise. We have amazing teachers, as you saw. So we want to honor their practice. And how best to honor their practice than giving them a partner to work with that can help them hone their skills. Teachers, they're supported with a partner to help create exceptional learning environments. As you heard some of our teachers tonight, our teachers of the year, talk about how they're already working with teachers and how teachers on the campus already come to them and say, can you help me with this? Can you share something with me? This gives them that opportunity to have that partner. Teachers are given the opportunity to plan, observe, and communicate on a regular basis with an instructional partner because it will be at their school. Every single school will have one that's designed and designated just for that. And then administrators are also supported. They're a partner for administrators because with an exceptional teacher, an experienced teacher, who can provide that non-evaluative support to colleagues to help accomplish the school and district instructional goals. So they can have that designated person. And when we think about instructional partners and you read all the literature, one of the very most important things is that the teacher that's a great communicator and has good relationships, but is also an expert teacher in their field. Someone that is very respected for their work in the classroom, but yet they're also great communicators and have good relationships with their colleagues. And finally, staffing. How can an instructional partner help us accomplish our third goal with staffing? Well, the system has an effective plan for recruitment, induction, and retention of excellent staff. So by our school district having instructional partners, and when we hire teachers to know they're going to have a partner, that helps us accomplish that goal. Also, there's a commitment to the norms and conditions needed for professional learning communities or professional learning teams. This person can also help make sure that our professional learning teams are functioning as they should. And system staff are committed to supporting the effective implementation of PLCs. By having instructional partners in all the schools who regularly meet with our teaching and learning staff, we can make sure that as a district, our professional learning community as a district, and the things that we're learning are implemented consistently across all 9 of our schools. Effectiveness of PLCs and other vehicles' professional growth are assessed. They can also help us reflect on where we are, where we're going, what we need to improve on. And then finally, innovation and risk-taking are valued and encouraged. You heard our teachers of the year speak about that tonight, about how they're risk takers, they're bold, they're innovative. And so our instructional partner can help encourage that and reflect with them and bounce ideas back and forth with them. There are 7 partnership principles, and these would be foundational to what our instructional partners would do, and this comes from also the work of Gen Knight. It's equality, praxis, dialogue, choice, voice, reflection, and reciprocity. And so you may think, what does that mean? Well, this is the theory behind instructional coaching. Equality, we all have equal value. So making sure that every teacher feels valued, their contributions are valued. Praxis, real life practical application. So when we talk about our lessons, what they're planning, what is that real life application? Do our students find meaning in the work that we're providing to them? Dialogue, two people thinking together. This is not, when we think about a coach that tells their players what to do. That's not what we're talking about here. This is, dialogue is one of the principles here. So it's a two-way street, two-way communication. Someone who can reflect with the teacher as they're thinking about their lesson and what students are learning. Choice, individuals make their own reflective decisions. Voice, the opportunity to express one's point of view. Reflection, I just talked about that one. And then reciprocity. Everyone learns from one another. That opportunity to get better together. Also, we have literacy coaches. So you may think, well, what's the difference between a literacy coach and instructional partner? Well, our instructional partners, they would be K-12, and they would participate in dialogical coaching. So that's a lesson for another day, except I just want to talk about the differences. The dialogical coaching is really where you're reflecting with teachers and coaching through a process that they want help with. Our literacy coaches, they're only K-3, and they use the Sweeney model for directive coaching. So that is, you look at a set of data, and you're coaching through a goal. You're coaching to reach a goal based on improvement of data. So they kind of have different roles in coaching. 6-12 team coaching, and then K-5 building data trends. Support different structures of professional growth, or the 6-12 are assigned to consult for reading intervention and support. So again, when you think about the differences, the literacy coaches are very specific. They are working with setting a goal, using data to reach that goal. The instructional partners would not.
Our literacy coaches, don't they work a lot with our students, whereas an instructional partner would work more with our teachers?
Absolutely, yeah. Instructional partners would work with teachers. They may work with students if they're modeling a lesson. But their goal is to be a partner for teachers and a partner for administrators. And what is our purpose? Why instructional partners? Dr. Freeman's talked a lot about the Blue Angels, and he's used that as an analogy for we're already a great system, we're an excellent system. And so the Blue Angels, what a great analogy, because they're outstanding pilots. But they improved. They moved from 36 inches to 18 inches, which is so hard to imagine. I didn't do that at a board meeting, but I did do this. I was talking about this example to another group. And I had Amy Barber, I had her get the yardstick out. I was like, measure my arm. How long is my arm? And it was just a little more than 18 inches. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine two planes flying that close together. It's incredible. And so as we're thinking about our teachers and that excellent instruction they provide, the purpose of an instructional coach is to help support them to go from 36 inches to 18 inches. So back to your question, who will this be? It will be a group of highly skilled and trained individuals who have a passion for working with colleagues to improve instructional practice. It would be your teacher leaders, those teachers who have a reputation for excellence in the classroom, have great communication skills, and have great relationship skills with their colleagues. And when we think about instructional partners, that could help us protect our legacy. When we think about that exceptional instruction, and from the very first slide, my families choose Vestavia. They choose Vestavia because they want their children to have an excellent education. And so we want to help support our teachers, the gift that we have in this district, our fabulous teachers. We want to support them, and we feel like we can help do that through providing instructional partners.
Dr. Rainey, these are not administrative positions.
Yeah.
They are strictly instructional-based positions. With regards to what other systems around us do or throughout the state, do we see this model already in place in K-12 systems?
Yeah, a lot of systems have instructional partners, K-12. well, I say a lot of systems. Instructional partners have been around for a number of years. With the Alabama Best Practices Center, the Instructional Partner Network, they've had that network for, I don't know how many years. I hate to be on the spot and say the wrong thing, but I would say at least probably 8 years or more. And so we've had schools all throughout the state of Alabama for at least 8 years that have used this model. And so I'm excited at the prospect of us being able to join the network, provide the training, and most specifically, provide our teachers with that support.
This is a bit impromptu, but I know she'll be able to answer it well. Alicia has worked in the elementary environment and secondary environment. I'm interested just from the perspective as a principal, what value this brings uniquely to our schools that we don't have now.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the deficits that I see coming from elementary to middle is that our teachers don't have that coach in between. And honestly, with the Literacy Act over these last couple of years, our coaches at the elementary level have been pushed to do so much literacy specific coaching that they're not able to coach on all the things. So instructional partners at every level will help, but at the secondary level, it's been something we have never had. So an opportunity like a teacher going in and just saying, hey, I'm struggling with how to get this concept across, or I want to try something new. Could you help me? And somebody coming into the classroom like, hey, I've got a technology we can add to that, or let me model it for you, and then you can take it from here. And just going through that coaching cycle where they get to see excellent teaching in practice with their students and their content in the moment. It really makes a big difference, because when you go to PD and you hear professional learning about what people are doing, you're like, okay, that's great, but they don't have my 28 kids. They're not doing this with my kids or my content. And then when you see somebody that can do it with your class, it's like, okay, I've got this. It's a reciprocal opportunity to kind of see somebody do it and then go do that work. So I think it could really lift the level of learning for all of our students and really continue the trajectory of excellent teaching in our classrooms. Because even this year with doing instructional rounds and building instructional model, every school is trying to do that, where we're saying, this is what we expect in every classroom. Well, some teachers are further along in that process than others, and they need opportunities to see other good teachings to make it happen. So I am pumped about this possibility, because I see it as a real need and a real opportunity for our district.
So I see this for the elementary, it makes sense to me, because elementary teachers teach all subject matters, just a different grade level. When you move to secondary, how does this work? Because one part of teaching is teaching fundamentals, like how you teach, how you deliver, but the other part is subject matter experts. So how do you find an instructional partner that can really help in drafting to English, to AP Calculus, to chemistry, where you have subject matter now differentiating?
This is not a content expert. It is an instructional partner. So there are great instruction, and I'm seeing the principals shake their heads, because great instruction is great instruction, kindergarten through 12th grade. So there are some principles, strategies that, regardless of what you're teaching, what content, what grade level, that's just good teaching practices. So that person can help with that. Also, in the secondary, a lot of times what you see instructional partners do is, when you're meeting to talk with a teacher, that teacher many times will reflect on their own instruction and say, I would really, I've been wanting to do this, but I'm just not sure quite how to do it. Well, the instructional partner may say, I was in Mr. So-and-so's room. He had a very similar lesson to what you're talking about. Why don't I come in and teach your class third period, and you can go and watch him? And so it's not necessarily a content specialist, but it's someone who facilitates the opportunities for teachers to either observe another teacher, practice skill, provide feedback, or it may even be for them to go and gather data or information about a certain strategy to bring back to that teacher.
Are your PLCs subject matter, so is your PLC science, math? Okay. So if you structure those correctly, then each other can help on the subject matter while then you have an instructional partner. Did I get that right? Sorry, teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rainey. Just looking ahead for you, in February, we'll bring to you some report on our STEM planning, what we want to do K-12, but our STEM program with One Rebel, One Future. In March, we'll bring to you our K-12 ideas around world languages and how we'd like to expand that. In April, I'll give you just a general summary of all things we talked about this year with a very exciting opportunity. All right, thanks so much.
Excellent. All right, I will now entertain a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation. I want to remind all of us of the following. No action can be taken in an executive session. There will be no vote taken in an executive session. No minutes of the executive session will be made. I request that Mr. Pat Boone, Dr. Freeman, and Mr. Mark Boardman attend the executive session. I will estimate the executive session will last approximately 60 minutes. Following the executive session, the regular board meeting will reconvene. Mr. Boone, can you comment on the motion for executive session? Or Mr. Boardman?
As an attorney licensed from Alabama, I certified with the Steady Hills Board of Education. The board convened in executive session discussing legal ramifications of, legal options for, pending litigation, controversies not yet litigated but imminently likely to be litigated, or controversies imminently likely to be litigated if the board pursues a certain course of action or courses of action. Any action, of course, would be deliberated in public. You anticipate any action being taken as a result of this. You've already estimated the amount of time, and this is in accordance with Alabama Code 3625A783.
Thank you, Mr. Boardman. Do I have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, we will clear the